Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And the news is rife. Xabi Alonso's in. Transfer season is... Barcelona are already signing players. Andy Gordon has randomly gone to Barcelona today, and the window's not even open yet. So in the spirit of building up to the transfer window, before things start getting solid, I wanted to get a couple of mates along, and I'm going to play a little game of 1 in, 1 out. But before we get into the rules of this game, we'll just call it a game, I would like to introduce to my channel an old friend, and you probably, if you've been on my channel before, recognise him very, very well. It's Kai from Behind the Dugouts. Kai, how's it going, bro?
Good, mate. It's always good coming on here and talking Chelsea. So yeah, happy to be back, mate. Happy to be back. It was only a few days ago we were sitting here.
You're going to get sick of me by the end of this summer, mate. I'm going to be calling you all the time. And also my distinct pleasure to welcome back to the channel one of our transatlantic cousins. It is Mason from Blues and Stripes. Mason, how's it going, man?
Well, nice that the season's over. We can look ahead to next season, hopefully be better, and also excited for the World Cup. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, man. I was really looking forward to the World Cup until I saw Tommy Tuchel's England squad. But I've talked about that in a video already. We'll come back to that another time. So, gentlemen, today I want to try something a little bit different. In the spirit of the transfer window, I want to play a little game of 1 in and 1 out. And I want both of you to tell me one player that you would sell and one player that you would replace him with 5 times. So I'm calling it 1 in, 1 out, but I'll essentially I want 10 different players, or it doesn't have to be different players. Maybe you've got ones in common. Maybe you want the same players, but you want to get rid of different ones. That's where it all gets interesting, right? So welcome, guys, to the first episode of 1 in, 1 out, where I find Chelsea content creators and find out their dream signings for Xabi Alonso's Chelsea. Let's start with Mason. Mason, who is your first player out, and who do you want to replace him with?
Well, if anybody's watched any of my videos, this will not be a surprise at all, because I don't know why, but I kind of made it my goal by the end of the season to absolutely rip into him every single time he played, and he played quite a lot. And that is Malo Gusto. Okay. I know a lot of people still hope that first season that we saw under Poch will return. Mm-hmm. For me personally, I've seen a lot just because I used to play in defense. I kind of have a good sense of who has good defensive awareness and who doesn't. And based on what I've seen for pretty much most of this season, I would say he just doesn't have the defensive awareness. Too many times, guys coming from behind him, he has no clue they're there. He's terrible in the air. And honestly, on the ball, he's not great either. So the one thing he has going for him is his pace and his energy. Mm-hmm. Which I know would help in a wing-back position. But I just think there are better options. And player I'm going to replace him with is actually somebody I've talked with Kai before in a video I did with him, which is I want to bring in Tino Livramento.
Ooh, bold.
Because as a former Chelsea boy, mm-hmm. Coming back in, I think he's very good at that wing-back position. He gets up and down the line very well for Newcastle. So I think he's somebody that could really take that spot well, and be a decent kind of deputy to Reece James as well.
So you see Reece James playing that wing-back role if we go free at the back.
So the way I'm thinking about it is we start as a back 4, and then one fullback goes up, the other one drops in as part of the back 3. Mm-hmm. In my mind, I see James and Cucurella as the fullbacks. Okay. Cucurella goes up, James drops, mm-hmm. and then Hato and Livramento. Hato can drop in because he's played well at that left center back. Mm-hmm. Livramento goes up. So that's just kind of how I foresee it. Okay. But yeah, that's just... I think he would be a good option on that right side to give us some good defensive cover, but also he gets into the attack really well and interconnects well too.
Interesting. So 26 appearances in the Premier League this season, only 1 assist actually. So I think Malo Gusto has scored 2 goals this season. Right? So weirdly, yeah, it's just an interesting caveat. Like, I think it's an interesting one with Tino Livramento, especially as he's been chosen for the England World Cup squad. And Lewis Hall got left out, which seems a little bit wild because initially I was just like, I thought he had a bit of an underwhelming season, but you seem to have researched him a lot more than I have. So before I hand over to Kai for his next pick, is Malo Gusto one of your outs and is Tino Livramento one of your ins?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to start with, I think I'm going to start with the attack, but I also am leaning on the side of Malo Gusto out, but for a different player in.
Okay. We'll save that for a little bit later.
I'll save that one for a little bit later in the video.
Yeah. Basically, if one you've got isn't the same, I want to get the other opinion on it as we're talking about it. But otherwise, we'll leave it for the dramatic moment where we clash. So, Kai, who is your first player out, and who do you want to replace him with?
So I'm going to start with the attack, because I've had enough of our attack, to be honest. And I think this one will go down pretty well, especially with the out. So Garnacho for me is the first one out. And I'm going to say I was happy when we signed him because I saw the potential talent that was there. But I hold my hands up. I was wrong. He's not fitted for us. He's not done it anywhere near enough to warrant himself being second choice in the team, third choice in the team. And, we did a little piece on him in the previous video the other day, Matt, where maybe England isn't the place for him anymore. As harsh as it sounds, maybe it's time for him to actually go overseas. But the player that I would like to replace him with, and it's actually a player we've been linked with quite a few times, and I've spoken to Mason about this guy as well. I think we had the same view on it, is Rafael Leao.
Interesting.
AC Milan recently going through a massive restructure in terms of their coaching. Everything is going up. Not particularly finished in a great position, out of the Champions League again. Similar position as we are. And it is a player that we have been linked to in the past. I don't think where before we were talking 100 plus, I don't think that's going to be the case now. 26, 27 years old, a lot of games under his belt, a lot of experience. He's pacey, he's good 1v1, he's a decent finisher. He is explosive. And I've said it many times, I want our attackers to be a lot braver, less negative. And I feel like he would be someone that could bring that to the team. Definitely.
Interesting. He's quite versatile as well, isn't he? Because they played two up front for quite a long time. I'm not sure if they still were, but he was also featuring as the left forward as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Which you think would make you think he might be kind of ideal for that if we do go for a three at the back, the kind of left half space role behind the striker as well, being able to drift wide, but also being able to run forward and score goals. I like that, to be honest. Like you say, price wise seems like the only crazy thing. Like a couple of years ago, we were quoted like 100 mil.
Yeah.
But if we could get him for like 50, 60, something like that, then that seems like an interesting prospect. Definitely like that. Rafael Leao, definitely an upgrade on Garnacho, I think, to say the absolute least.
Yeah.
Mason, is Garnacho in your list?
So, we are of like minds on this one. I know this is another one we talked about whenever we did our kind of prospective 11 for next season. Leao is one that, like you said, we've been linked with a while, and I would like to see him here. Something that you touched on, though, that left side forward space. If we keep a hold of João Pedro, one thing he likes to do is drop in. And I think Leao has that pace where if João Pedro's dropping in, Leao can get in behind and open up that space there as well. So, he's one I would definitely love to see here. And as far as Garnacho, for me, I personally was not excited when we signed him. I'm somebody that, as much as I do like having talented players, the attitude as well is something that I look at. Like Bruno Fernandes, very talented player, but I hate him because I just don't want that type of attitude here at the club. So even if we were linked with him, I wouldn't be excited. But Garnacho had that same sort of attitude issue where it felt like he thinks he's better than he is. He's a talented player for sure. But that ego, sometimes it works, but more often than not, especially in the more modern day where social media's invaded the sport, and it feels like most of these guys would prefer to be treated like celebrities rather than players. I just don't think that type of mentality. You look at him, Mbappe is another great example of, he leaves PSG and then that's when they win the Champions League, because it feels like they finally got those attitudes out and got just players that want to work for the team in there. So that's kind of my own personal opinion on him, and it's why I didn't want him signed and why I would love to see him go in the summer.
I think it's interesting with Garnacho because I was a dead set against it when I first heard the links, and then I started looking into his time at Man United. And what impressed me about Alejandro Garnacho was, despite United dropping positions every single season until 15th place last season, he kept on getting better and better and better. So his numbers went up every season for like 4 or 5 years running. even though Man United were dropping. So that said to me initially, I was like, oh, do you know what? He's got character. I get what you're saying about the rock star attitude, though. The intro, I listened to Simon Jordan on Talksport today, and he was talking about how in this new age of footballers that we live in, like in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, rock stars and movie stars were the celebrities, but now it's footballers. And that's largely just a ridiculous amount of money that they earn, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, no, that's a fair one. Garnacho, I think, most Chelsea fans would probably be happy to see the back of Garnacho at this point. I think we're probably well placed to get rid of him because we got him for 35 mil. And he's still 21, 22 years old. He's not an old player by any stretch. There's still a lot of potential there. I don't think it'd be crazy for us to at least break even on him. Even on his book value, even if we sell him for like 30 mil, that's probably in and around close to not losing money on him. So, Mason, was Garnacho out and Rafa Leao in one of your... was it exactly the same? So
exactly that.
Okay, wicked. In that case, then I will throw it back to Kai, because now that's... So you're Gusto for Livramento, and you're both Garnacho for Rafa Leao. So, Kai, you're next out, and who you want to replace him with?
I'll go to defence then. I'll do my Gusto shout. So, yeah, look, I still think there's a player in Gusto.
Mm-hmm.
How many seasons do we give him? How many bad seasons do we allow him before we have to make a decision? And being that, before we were hoping Reece James would come back and he would basically just take that spot again and we wouldn't have to worry about it. He'd just be a backup. And I think he would be quite a stable backup, to finish the last 15 minutes of a game, if that, to just bring the energy when the forward players are a bit tired. They can't run past him. But being that it's looking like Reece James is probably not going to play a right wing back role going forward, probably centre mid, maybe a right centre back, maybe the odd occasion as a wing back, but for his legs probably won't cut it. I don't want to be relying on Gusto to be my starter. So I'm going with a little bit more experience, a little bit more on the age side. He's 29 years old. Has just won the Conference League with Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Daniel Munoz, another player that I've spoken to Mason about, who has probably been one of the top right wing backs, and he is a wing back in the league, like for years. He brings that experience. He's a solid unit. And again, if you are going to play Reece James, have them competing. I think he would provide more of a different option than what Gusto provides, but he also brings the energy. He's also up and down the pitch. And I do think we could use someone like that.
I think that's a really good shout, to be honest. And that is the right kind of player that we need to add in certain positions. Do you know what I mean? Is this like, I don't think we're going to do it en masse. I don't think we're going to go out and buy 5 or 6 28-plus-year-olds, do you know what I mean, to get experience in the team. But if we do, someone like that I think is ideal. I think Xabi Alonso would probably love him. He's obviously been really, really good at Crystal Palace. I think he hasn't got a huge amount of time left on his deal either. I seem to remember we were linked with him in January, and I remember doing a video about it. And for me, that is the kind of signing. For me, it's the same sort of thing as like Van Heck and Murillo, where it's like they've been around the Premier League for a while. They know how it goes. He's a little bit older than that, but that's a really, really good shout. And I do really like that. I think he'd fit the team well. And yeah, just a bit of steel as well in those positions. Do you know what I mean? That's the sort of thing that Gusto doesn't seem to have. And it's interesting with Gusto. He just gets worse every season. And I don't know why, because he did, like Mason said earlier, like, he started so well under Poch. But I feel a little bit bad for Gusto because under Maresca, he was asked to play every position on the pitch apart from right back and right wing back, with the exception of the Club World Cup final. And he was really good in that game. Do you know what I mean? It's wild, isn't it? But yeah, I do. It's one of those, like, I'm worried that Gusto goes somewhere. Like, in my head, I don't know why, I feel like Gusto at Liverpool would be brilliant, or Gusto at Newcastle, he'd be fantastic. I just get this feeling that wherever he goes after us, he goes on to be a good player. But at the same time, if we're looking for like a Frimpong style player to play that, winger back role, which it kind of really more is, to be, Munoz has got good numbers this season. He's like, a couple of goals and good assists and stuff as well. And I don't think that Malagusto is going to be able to get there. So really interesting. Mason, was Munoz in your selection at all?
He was not. He's one that Kai did mention when we did our video, and when he brought it up, it's not a player that I had on my radar, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He's done really well at Palace. He looks really good when he goes down that right side. So For me, the only reason why I've gone Livramento over Munoz is just because of that Chelsea connection.
Yeah.
I think, especially where we finished the season too, we have more likely a chance of drawing back a former Chelsea player than we do of bringing a guy who just made Europe with Crystal Palace to come, even though Chelsea are technically the bigger club.
Yeah.
I feel like we've got a better chance of Livramento than Munoz, but I would love to have Munoz here as well.
I think the thing that you need to consider with stuff like that as well, though, is like Munoz has probably only got one move left in his career, one big move, and he needs it to be an upwards move, and will pay more than Palliser. That's the other truth, isn't it? So it's like you might not get into Europe, but you go to Chelsea, you instantly get into our first team, let's be completely honest, and you get a bigger pay packet for it, and you probably get back into Europe at the end of the season, whether it be, we can only do it via top 4 now, can't we? But no, interesting. Yeah, I would probably lean on Munoz more than Livramento for me personally, based on the season that he's just had as well. I know Tino Livramento is not very old and he fits the Blueco model a little bit more, but in terms of instant impact, which I think we need especially in that position, because like I agree with Kai about Reece James, for instance. I don't see Reece James playing right wing back. I get what you're saying about dropping in, but if Xabi Alonso plays the wing backs the way that he did before, they are getting up there and they are trying to score goals and they are getting really, really high. And I think Munoz has had a good season. He's got good numbers and he instantly comes into the team. Either way, Malagusto, we hardly knew you by the sounds of it. All right, cool. So, Mason, we'll hand back over to you. Who is your third out and who would you like to replace him with?
All right, so sticking in defense, because this is obviously where we struggled the most this season. So for me, most of our defenders can go, but as far as who is going to be replaced in the first team, for me, Wesley Fofana, I was not really impressed by him in his first couple seasons before the injury. He was good, but he wasn't as good as I think we paid for him, in my opinion. And since he's come back, he's had his good games, but he's also had his bad games. Several moments where he's caught out of position, very unaware of what's going on around him. And if you put him alongside a more experienced defender, maybe he improves. But because we need that experience, and because I think Colwill is probably going to be the young defender that we build this team around, I think we need to put the experienced defender alongside him.
Okay.
And so for me, I would prefer to see Fofana go out. Now, when I did the video with Kai, I wanted to go for Marquinhos because Brazilian PSG, we know what happened last time. I'm not saying it's going to be exactly like Thiago Silva, but I would have loved to have that type of experience. I know it's not likely to pry him away from PSG, but that would be one that I'd prefer to go for. But with a recent announcement of a manager leaving, I figured we might be able to pry a defender away from this club now. I would not mind going for Ruben Diaz. I think very experienced player in the Premier League. I think he's done very well. I don't know, we were linked with him, I think, a couple seasons ago. There was a little bit of talk about us maybe going in for him. I think with the fact that Pep's leaving, maybe now's the chance to try to go in for him. Obviously, he has a lot of experience playing out of the back under Pep's system, which means that possession-based style that we know Xabi Alonso is probably going to play as well. But more than anything, he's a good, solid, experienced defender that brings a winning mentality, and I think that would be brilliant to have in the back line.
Really interesting shout. I don't even consider City players, but I've actually talked about it a few times recently. I expect some of City's more experienced players to be looking for moves. Whether someone like a Ruben Diaz looks at Chelsea and sees it as a sideways move or an upwards move, I guess that's the question. But at the same time, like Xabi Alonso is the pull, isn't he, at the end of the day? The invincible season with Leverkusen was absolutely unbelievable. In his time as a player, he was such a good player everywhere that he went, Munich, Madrid, or Liverpool. I do see some big players being enticed by the Xabi Alonso factor, and I think we're going to have to rely on that a little bit. Ruben Diaz, absolutely wicked player. I think you've smashed it, to be honest, in terms of like bringing a player in who's already good at playing out from the back. I do think that's really important as well. I can't imagine that he's got super long left on his deal, so it wouldn't be maybe crazy expensive to do either. And a really, literally one that I've not thought about at all, so I really like that. Kai, was Wesley Fofana on your list or Ruben Diaz?
Wesley Fofana was. Many players on the defensive line was. Probably be the more difficult out of the defenders to shift. I think Tosin goes easy. and things like that. But he was on my list. A different player, same team.
Interesting. Oh, I think I know what you're going to say. Yeah, go on.
So, and this is like, I think there's going to be many people that won't agree with me because he's been injured for a very, very long time. But want a centre back that can play out from the back, that's done it for many, many years, that's even played in midfield under Pep and has looked really comfortable. I mean, Champions League, he was outstanding in that run up for them winning it. Free transfer, so we would still have money in the bank to invest in other positions. I don't think it will be difficult to entice him away, being that he's not really been used. I know he's been injured, but even before that, not so much. A hell of a lot of experience. John Stones.
Really interesting shout. Joe Cole said today that he thinks, I saw the article today, that he thinks that Chelsea should go and get John Stones and Robert Lewandowski because of the free transfer element. Now, vis-a-vis John Stones, the last thing I saw, although nothing concrete yet, is that supposedly he's looking to get a move back to Everton. But the truth of the fact is, we are as attractive a prospect as Everton at the moment, I think. Did they make Europe? No, they didn't, did they? No. Okay, so did we didn't finish above them, though?
I don't think so. Someone tell us in the comments if we did. We might have.
Let us know. So no, that is a really interesting one, actually. John Stones, look, this is a weird one for me because I've just done my England video, and John Stones making the England team, I think, is kind of wild, to be fair.
Yeah.
He's played 18 games this season and he made 9 appearances in the Premier League. And I think he featured a couple of times in cup competitions, which they won both of. And he did perform, he got really, really high ratings in the cup competitions. But I guess the nature of the injury is the worry. But also, it's a free transfer. So the risk reward is lesser.
Yeah.
He'd still want a wage. And squad cost ratio is definitely a problem, but I imagine it probably wouldn't be as high as a Ruben Diaz. If I had the choice, it's a tough one. Either way, I agree with both of you about Wesley Fofana. I think the attitude's a problem. I think it doesn't matter how good he is on his best day, on his worst day, he's awful. And I think that he is just an unhappy player who doesn't want to be here anymore. And I think we need to, I think we probably won't lose money on him if we're lucky. He's been here for a while now. But yeah, no, I agree 100% with both of you that I think Wesley Fofana needs to do one, unfortunately, getting back to Marseille so he can cook some French food and have a good time. But yeah, John Stones or Ruben Diaz, I think if it wasn't crazy money, I'd say Diaz. If it was like less than 50 mil, I'd probably say Diaz because I think, he's not 30 yet, is he? He's like 28, 29, not been injured, has been a big part of winning them titles over the last few seasons as well. I do see the logic with John Stones. Great passer, like you say, he's depth in midfield and stuff as well. And the free transfer element is interesting, but it would just be classic for us to get John Stones and be really excited about him and for him to get injured in the first game and then just be out for the whole season. Do you know what I mean? And that can happen with anyone, but it feels like it might be a little bit more likely to happen. So let's just, that's 3 players done. Let's just have a quick refresh on where we are. So both of you think Gusto should go. Kai, you said Munoz from Crystal Palace. Mason, you said Tino Livramento from Newcastle. Both of you think Garnacho should go. And you both said Rafa Leão, which is interesting because you're all synced up on that one. And that's because you've had this conversation before today. You've prepped. I feel very unprepped. And we both agree about Wesley Fofana. Sorry, you both agree about Wesley Fofana, but you both want City players. Kai thinks John Stones, Mason thinks Ruben Diaz. So really, really interesting. Guys, by the way, get your thoughts about all of these in the comments. We'd absolutely love to hear what you think about them, and let's have a chat about it because that's always a good time. Also, click like on the video. Right, so back to Mason. Who was your 4th out and who would you replace him with?
So I kind of wanted to change up a little bit of everything around the pitch. So going into midfield, I was looking to see, obviously, I like Caicedo. Don't want to get rid of him. Personally, I like Santos. I think he's been a good partner in there alongside him. Enzo is kind of a question mark, because is he in, is he out? A lot of questions there, but when I was looking at what he brings, the assists, the goals that he scores, I couldn't really think of a player that could replace that. So instead I pivoted and I've decided to say Lavia out. And to be honest, he's a player that's gotten me excited before, but every single time we get excited, he comes back, has a good game, he's out again. And we don't see him for who knows how long. And I don't feel like I trust him anymore to stay fit.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I know I've talked about with you before is the whole controversy surrounding the medical team. I think they've actually done a pretty good job of trying to keep these players fit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the most we've had Reece James since he's started having injury issues this season. So the fact that even with what they do, they still can't keep him fit for a full season.
Yep.
I don't know if he's ever going to stay fit for a full season throughout. So I've decided to go with him out, and player that I want to bring in, another player again that Kai and I have talked about, is Elliot Anderson from Forest.
Big one.
I think he's going to have a pretty solid, World Cup more than likely for England, and he's had a really good season for Forest. I know they've not had a great season overall, but he still looks very solid in there, and I think he can provide that pivot that Lavia does, where he gets on the ball, turns, moves really well with it. He's not quite the defensive destroyer that Caicedo is, and he's not the finisher that Enzo is. So he brings something a little bit different. He might be able to sit alongside Caicedo, kind of like what Santos does well. So, yeah, he's one that I'd love to get in. I know he's going to have so many suitors over the summer, more than likely, but if we could get him, I'd love to have him in there.
A really interesting one. Elliot Anderson is going to be one of the most sought after players as long as he has a good World Cup, which you probably assume he will. And you know what? Even if he doesn't, everyone's still going to want him. Obviously, City is the big link at the moment. They kind of poured cold water on the Enzo Fernandez to City links and, said, oh, no, we actually just want to focus on Elliot Anderson. But for me, there's the whole 115 thing that I think will come out over the next couple of months. That will dictate whether they can spend 100 mil on any players. Elliot Anderson, now, I agree with you. So personally, for me, and, I think I agree that I would love to see Elliot Anderson in, and I don't disagree in principle with the idea of seeing Lavia out, but I think the problem you've got there is if you bring Elliot Anderson in, then you've still got Enzo Fernandez. And then it's like, where does Enzo Fernandez go in that respect? I could see us maybe going for someone of an Elliot Anderson ilk if we sell Enzo Fernandez, because the money's going to be nuts. 80 to 100 mil, easy. If he has a good World Cup, 100 mil, definitely. And Lavia, I've spoke to Kai about this recently. We did a keep, loan or sell the other day. I really like Lavia, and I think that Xabi Alonso will really like Lavia because he likes a deep lying distributor, which is exactly what Romeo Lavia is, but the injury thing is the thing, isn't it? That is just the thing. I think it's, and because of that as well, I think it's going to be hard to get rid of Romeo Lavia. So I find that a really interesting one. I think that if Elliot Anderson came in, he isn't going anywhere to play back up to anyone. That's the truth, isn't it? It's like wherever Elliot Anderson goes, whether it be City, Chelsea, Man United are really interested in him as well. Wherever Elliot Anderson goes, he goes to play first team football, and I don't think he'll be up for like swapping round with Enzo Fernandez depending on what the game needs or whatever. Like, he wants to go and be a superstar, but absolutely brilliant player, very athletic, goals and assists, good player, absolutely love that. Kai, is Lavia on your list for in or out, and is Elliot Anderson on your list either?
Anderson, no. Lavia, yes.
Okay.
But for a slightly different...
You two are like this.
Yeah, slightly different reason. And you can shout at me in the comments. I know they're not the same position. However, we've only got one player that plays this position, and he needs someone to challenge him, and he needs backup, and I want to will this one into fruition, right?
Manifest.
So I will replace Lavia, and I do like Lavia, and I wish he would just stay injury free, because I think if he does, he's starting every single game.
Yeah.
We've always looked better with him in.
Yeah, agreed.
How many, again, same as Gusto, how many years can you give him of him keep getting injured? I mean, he's never played a full 90 for us, and I want it to work. I just can't see him getting over this injury thing, and I really want him to, but I like the midfield. If we can keep Enzo, great, but I want to take one DM out, and I want to bring in a 10. And the 10 I want to bring in is Morgan Gibbs-White.
Love that. He's going
to different profile to Cole Palmer.
World Cup. No.
I know. Amazing numbers this season. Definitely should feel gutted not being included in the World Cup squad.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Tottenham were trying to get him for 50. I want to say in the summer, obviously not going about it the best way. Tottenham obviously not having the best season, so we'll always look like a better fit than Tottenham. I mean, come on, it's Tottenham. They've trash. Do I need to say any more? But he's a different profile. He's robust. He's a warrior.
Yeah.
He will bring, if Palmer's not having the best of games, he will come on there and he will batter and bruise, but he's got the silky touch. He scores goals. I just think he would be superb for this Chelsea team. And we want warriors. We want people that are going to fight, but also want a little bit more magic in the top half when players are letting us down. I think he could produce it, and I'd love to see this one happen. I really would. I think he deserves it. Yeah, I think he deserves to be playing at a higher level club,
season. Yeah, no, for sure.
100%.
If anything, not going to the World Cup has given him loads of times to sort out a move now, hasn't it? And, I would love to see Morgan Gibbs-White in the Chelsea squad, absolutely. My thing with Cole Palmer is I love Cole Palmer and I want him to be brilliant, but at the same time, he needs someone to push him now, and he hasn't had that. And I said the same thing about Nicholas Jackson, actually. I thought it was wild that we let Nicholas Jackson go after being our only striker for 2 seasons when we could have got a João Pedro in to push him to be even better. I feel like Cole Palmer's exactly at that point now. I really, really like Morgan Gibbs-White. I think he'd probably be a cheaper option than Morgan Rogers, who I think the rumours are saying that Xabi Alonso does like, but the season, absolutely phenomenal season, so good. I think it's interesting your permutation as well, actually, with Lavia out, Morgan Gibbs-White in. That does kind of make sense if we consider that Reece James probably going to be playing a lot of deep line midfield. We've got Santos, we've got Essego, we've got Caicedo. We have some deep line midfielders knocking around, even if we lose Romeo Lavia, and that's not even talking about Enzo Fernandez going out either, and whatever you're going to do with him.
Yeah.
So I like this one. I like this one a lot. I think Morgan Gibbs-White, I don't know, in my head, no, they're keeping, if United weren't keeping Bruno Fernandes, I'd say that feels nailed on, doesn't it? Like Morgan Gibbs-White to United feels like the kind of thing. But I'd love to see him at Chelsea. And also, with the potential formation we're going to play with 2 10s instead of wingers, we can afford to have 2 starting level number 10s. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really, really interesting one. There's ideas of the likes of Quenda and Pedro Neto could play wing back. So our wingers still kind of get to be wingery and we just get to kind of, load that midfield. Morgan Gibbs-White, what an absolute gutter. He's not going to the World Cup. But maybe that works in our favour. Interesting as well because they didn't, what were they, like 14th? No, like 16th, weren't they? They finished quite low. So if they want to build on their season, Morgan Gibbs-White and Elliot Anderson allows them to buy 3 or 4 players to rebuild the squad with, we're going forward with who's their manager now? It wasn't, because they've changed managers so many times this season, I can't remember who it is now. Who's the Nottingham Forest manager at the moment?
No, I can't even remember.
Vitor Pereira.
Yes. Gone under the radar, but he kept him up, so fair play to him. So, love that. So you both are ready to see the back of Romeo Lavia. And despite all of us agreeing what a phenomenal player he is, that's the really disappointing thing, isn't it? Like, he is so good, but it's just been too much injury now. I think maybe we get him. It seems like a Strasbourg loan makes sense for him because we can make it happen. Do you know what I mean? Without being like, do you want this guy? He might be injured. Like, we can just be like, mate, you're going to Strasbourg for the season, and they will take him. Gary O'Neill will not be happy about it. Little bit of news, by the way. It looks like Felipe Luis is going to Monaco, which is a shame because I would love to have seen him at Strasbourg, and I don't really like Gary O'Neill, but, by the by. So, Romeo Lavia out for Kai. Bring in Morgan Gibbs-White to push Cole Palmer. And for Mason, you said...
Elliot
Anderson. Yes, Elliot Anderson. So, you've both gone for the same team again. That's amazing, isn't it? Well, you guys have... okay, cool. So that takes us to the final pick, and then we'll sum up. Mason, who is your last out, and who would you like to replace him with?
So I really struggled with the 5th one just because I didn't want to go obvious with it. I wanted to really think about, is there a player I could throw in to really shock people? But ultimately, I went with the obvious pick, which is Robert Sanchez. I've wanted to give him time. I've probably been one of his defenders this season before, I would say, probably before the halfway point. And I know you did a video on the keepers today, but he does have that potential in him to be a good keeper. I just think, unfortunately for him, his performances are too much based on confidence.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can't have a keeper like that where as soon as his confidence drops, he's going to start performing terribly.
Yep.
I think about whenever Rosignor came in, changed the style, changed how he wanted him to play, a more experienced, a better keeper maybe doesn't play that system perfectly and maybe does make mistakes with his passes, but he doesn't drop his level as far as his keeping performance.
Mm-hmm.
Sanchez does, and that's unfortunately just what we've come to expect from him now. So wanted to move him on. I've kind of played around with who I wanted to come in. I know before I was talking about Matt Sells from Forest just because that good experience coming in to go alongside Penders. But thinking about it, it just popped into my head, especially after the Xabi Alonso news. And obviously we know how much fighting has been going on over in Spain. And so I'm wondering, I never thought I would say this, but could we possibly get Courtois back?
Bum, bum, bum,
I
hey!
never thought I'd be asking for him to come back. I've called him a snake because of how he left.
Yeah.
I was very frustrated with it. But, I mean, he seems to be kind of unhappy with the squad situation. Madrid, they feel like they're just crumbling because of the constant fighting and the players, the attitudes they have there. And since Xabi Alonso was there for a little bit, and from what I could tell, because I did a little bit of research, I'm like, was there any issue with Courtois and Xabi Alonso? And he even came out and said, no, the players, we didn't have an issue with him. We weren't trying to get him sacked.
Yeah.
So
it was just Vinny, wasn't it? It was just Vinny Jr., I think.
Yeah. But I think he's 34, 35, something like that. So he's in the later stages of his career, but just having him come in, he brings in the experience. He's still a great keeper. And alongside Penders, I think brings that experience that we need in there too to help him grow as a young keeper. So I don't think it's likely.
Oh, it's wild is what it is, mate. It's wild. So let's unpack this for a second. Let's unpack this. So I love it. I love the boldness. Like you said, like, oh, who can I put in that would be shocking? Mate, that one. Like, mission accomplished. So the Courtois thing, the main reason that I think it's not possible isn't even because, we can talk about the snake thing and whatever in a minute, and Chelsea fans and, how hyperbolic fan bases can be in general. Jose Mourinho is their manager now, man. And
That's
they
true.
won a title together. Jose Mourinho is going to love a 35-year-old Courtois. 35-year-old Courtois is Jose Mourinho's Czech 2.0. And I think that one of the first things that happens in Real Madrid now is Jose Mourinho turns up and gives Courtois the nod, and Courtois gives him the nod, and I think they are just locked in because, Jose Mourinho... He literally chose Courtois over Czech. That was a massive, huge turning point in Courtois' career, because he could have gone to a lot of different places and could have made a wrong move if Jose Mourinho would have chosen Czech in that respect. And Czech was so good, even then, even though Courtois was better, Czech was still so good. And obviously Czech and Mourinho had that history together. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's the main reason that I think that's unlikely. The other reason, as I've touched on, I think Blue Co doing that would show how in tune they are with like the Chelsea fan base, because I think Kai, what do you think about this? I'm really interested to get your opinion. Do you think Chelsea fans would welcome Courtois back just because of how good he is and put everything under the bridge?
On the sad side, because you would like to separate emotion from football just for football. It's almost impossible. It is almost impossible, and I don't see this. I mean, it's nowhere near as bad as, I don't know, is it as bad as Lukaku coming back doing an interview? It's probably close enough. In
Lukaku
the sense,
didn't
in
snake
terms
us when he left. I guess that's the thing, isn't it? If we brought Lukaku back now, maybe that'd be worse.
Yeah,
but you are right though. You are right.
Yeah, so I don't see it. I mean, I don't even know how I feel about it. If I put my footballing head on, why wouldn't you want that type of keeper in your club?
Yeah,
of course you would.
Obviously.
But it's when you see his face, you're like, that's why I don't want him in my club. It's one of those things. But I think it would be definitely a tough one for us to take as fans. But at the end of the day, if we want experience, we want top quality, and he is available, then I suppose why would you not take it?
I'll be honest. So the Jose Mourinho thing, I didn't even think about that, but that's a good reason why it's not going to happen. But I mean, I was wrestling with it. I was because I even looked through. I'm like, what are some good keepers that we can bring in? And I'm looking at some of the stats. I'm looking at like Diogo Costa popped up. I'm like, oh, he's playing pretty well. But then I looked, I'm like, yeah, but he's like kind of short for a keeper. He's like 6'1", and I feel like we need a big body because with how the Premier League's going, with how combative it's getting in the box, you need your big keepers in there. And we've seen even with Sanchez, who's 6'4" or 6'3" or something like that.
6'4",
like he's still getting bodied off the ball. So having that big body in there, Courtois would be perfect for that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I'm just like you. I'm sitting here thinking I don't want to see him.
Yeah.
I still hate him for what he did. But when I'm looking at who would come in, be able to play that style, because I was even looking at some of his passing numbers. The short passing looks really good for him too.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, he would fit a lot of, like, you check off a lot of the boxes. But yeah, I agree. It's probably not going to happen. Thinking now about Mourinho.
So there are two things that let's just live in the world of if, right? Let's just live in the world of if for a second. Football fans, we have short memories. If Courtois came in and played 5 good games in a row, we'd all love him again, because that's just how it works, isn't it? Like, winning changes absolutely everything. So that's the one thing. The other thing is the narrative of Courtois and the backup being his regen in Mike Penders, both Belgian keepers, both 6'5". I think. Well, how big's Courtois? Is he 6'5"? 6'6"? 6'5". So they're literally like the same height, the same kind of build, different goalkeepers. Courtois is not so much of a pass out from the back guy, but there would be a story in there, wouldn't there, as well, with the torch being passed. And we, as much as we love hating players, we also love a narrative and a story, don't we, as football fans? So no, I'm so glad you said that one, man. That's even just to consider it, like, it would never have crossed my mind, and to just have an excuse to talk about it was really interesting. So I love that. Kai, is Sanchez your last out?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let's go.
We didn't have all the same outs.
I had two that I was flaming. Obviously, 2 positions that I do think we would benefit from upgrading. Keeper wise, to throw another name in there for me, I think I've spoken to both of you about it. Ederson. Yeah. For me, in terms would fit our profile of how we want to play. Yeah. I know some people don't want to see us playing possession-based football. I just think that's what we are going to see and what we 100%. Will see going forward. Definitely. And he, for me, is one of the best that I've ever seen in terms of playing out from the back. But I haven't gone for keeper, mainly because it's looking like Penders is lined up to be the number one from what's coming out and so.
Go and watch my video about goalkeepers if you haven't already, because I broke all of them down to within an inch of their lives, and you'd be surprised at how good Penders is at shot stopping. Yeah. For all of the conversations we have about Sanchez and shot stopping, Penders really caught up to him by the back end of this season. So go and watch that video. Sorry, Kai, carry on.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it in my video with you the other day. Like when I think about Penders, I'm thinking of a shy kid, even like verbally talking, not so great. And then I watched an interview of him at Strasbourg and how he's talking about himself and the team and Chile over there. And he comes across as a very confident young lad. So that's why I haven't gone with the goalkeeper, because I think like they've already picked their side. For me, though we've got a mega coming in, I still think we need a top number 9.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't even, the crap, whatever you want to call him, I can't score a goal de lap. He's got to go for me. Yeah, he's just not at the level. It probably should be in the UFC the way that I've seen him play over the course of the season. You could say it's harsh. He had a little bit of injuries, but even when he's not been injured and he's had a decent run in the side, he's done nothing. He has done nothing to even warrant his place to be on the bench. And the fact that we bought him for so cheap, we could probably still move him on. Yeah, we won't get loads of money from him. We might be able to get an extra 10 mil, maybe.
We just won't lose anything, and
we just won't. We won't lose it. No one's paying. No one's going to pay under 30. He will go for more than 30. It's just the way that the football economics is right now. Yeah. The player that I'd love to bring in, and it's not Victor Osimhen. I know loads of people still want him. It's not Victor Osimhen.
Okay, good, because I was like, don't say Victor Osimhen.
No, it's not Victor Osimhen, although I think he'd be a great sign, and it's not. Yeah. It's a player that I've wanted when we were linked to him last time before he got the move to Atletico Madrid. And I know he doesn't want to sign a new contract, and I know he's linked with Barcelona, but I want Julian Alvarez in the team. Yeah, I think he is superb. Absolutely superb. Technically gifted, great finisher. Hell of a worker, works hard. He's got the flair about him. He scores goals. I mean, I think he would be great in this side. really do, especially in a possession-based football. I mean, what he did at City.
Yeah.
Probably he's not worked out at Madrid because they're not that possession. They're more of a dogged, rugged, work defensive hard team. It's not really suited for him.
He got like 40 plus GA last season though, didn't he? So even with that not being his style, he still found a way.
He would be, if I could have one like super break the bank signing in the attack, it would be for Julian Alvarez.
As great an eye for goal as he's got and as sharp as he is when it comes to scoring goals, he also offers more than that.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine many Chelsea fans being disappointed with Julian Alvarez. And if it was a choice of Osimhen and Julian Alvarez, for me, Julian Alvarez every day. I think he fits the profile a lot better. It'd make for some interesting permutations because João Pedro can play the left half space role as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they could play together and they could do this thing I've mentioned with Omega before, where it's like João Pedro starts in the left half space, Cole Palmer on the right, and Julian Alvarez up top. But Cole Palmer can shift into the middle, and João Pedro can push forward, and sometimes we can have two up front. And again, that would make for a really fluid front three, which would give you a lot of options, and it'd make us unpredictable, which I think would be awesome. I think lack of Champions League is probably the killer for that, isn't it? Unfortunately, because he can go anywhere pretty much. I'd be very interested if Barcelona, after spending 70 mil on Anthony Gordon, by the way, which just seems wild.
Yeah,
I never saw that one come in. I'd be really surprised to then see them go and spend 100 mil on Julian Alvarez. I know they've just won the league.
Apparently they're preparing the bid.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I mean, if they get him, that attacks Lamine Yamal and Julian Alvarez.
Yeah, scary, isn't it? And Anthony Gordon.
yeah. Gordon, Rafinha.
Anthony Gordon's good, don't get me wrong, and performed so well in the Champions League this year in particular. It was a weird one. Didn't have a phenomenal league season, but was unbelievable in the Champions League. Crazy. But no, that's a really good one. Like I say, I think you'd be hard pushed to find a Chelsea fan that was like, oh no, not Julian Alvarez. I don't want him in the team. Everyone wants Julian Alvarez in their team at the moment. So a really interesting shout. So that is 5 apiece of 1 in, 1 out. So we'll just go over all of them and then I'm going to ask you a little question at the end. So Malagusto, both of you 1 out. Kai, you said Munoz from Crystal Palace. Mason, you said Tino Livramento from Newcastle. Garnacho, both of you 1 out. You both said Rafael Leao of AC Milan. Fofana, you both 1 out. You both want City players. Kai, you said Stones, and Mason, you said Ruben Diaz. The other one that was Romeo Lavia, you both agreed that you want out. So we're 4 for 4 in terms of players out, which I find really interesting. Mason, you wanted Elliot Anderson, and Kai, you said Morgan Gibbs-White, which is a really interesting one. I really, really love that. I think I'd love to see him in. And then to finish off, we did something different. Mason, you went with Robert Sanchez out for Thibaut Courtois in. Maybe I'll start giving out prizes for the wildest shouts and gold star for you, my friend. That was just a great chat to have. What a fun time that was. And Kai, you want to see the back of Liam Delap and bring in Julian Alvarez. So the question I'm going to ask you is, having heard each other's lists, would you change any of your answers now? You get one change. You're allowed to change one. And it has to be one that the other guy picked.
Yeah. I would probably say, for me, I could go with the Ruben Diaz over John Stones in defence.
Okay.
I think injury record, I know he's a free transfer, but injury record aside, I think similar levels in terms of what they could bring, and they both can play out from the back. They've both been a possession-based football team, so I'd be quite happy with that.
Interesting. Mason?
I think probably Morgan Gibbs-White over Anderson for me. When he mentioned Morgan Gibbs-White when we did the video before, he's a player that, kind of like Munoz, wasn't really on my radar, but when I heard it, I was like, oh, that would be a really good player to pick up, because like you said, just very hard worker and would give us something a little different in our front line that I don't think we have right now.
Cool. I love that. I agree with both of you, actually. I agree with Kai that I would take Ruben Diaz over John Stones, and I agree with Mason that I would rather take Morgan Gibbs-White over Elliot Anderson. I think we've just got more of a need in that position at the moment because Cole Palmer is just on his own, and albeit they're not all fantastic, we do have loads of deep-lying midfielders. So, guys, that is it. That is the end of the first episode of In and Out. A massive thank you to Mason from Blues and Stripes and Kai from Behind the Dugouts. Just before we wrap up, I'll give you both a minute just to tell the audience about your channels, what they can expect from you in the summer, and why they should subscribe to your channel. We'll start with Kai.
Thanks, man. Once again, thank you for having me. Like Chelsea this season, I've been very inconsistent, I ain't going to lie. So with the content, mainly with lots of work and children, you know, the beautiful little souls they can be. Life happens. But the plan is to get back on the consistency train, starting with the summer, getting the news videos out. I want to cover the World Cup for England because it's coming home. I'm probably one of the only... There's probably a few of us that I was quite happy, bar with the England squad, mainly because I don't want to write us off or moan about it before we've even kicked a ball. You know, I want to go into this World Cup because I think it's, in terms of what we're coming up against and the squad itself, they've had quite a few years of disappointment and hurt.
60 years of hurt,
and it's the first time we've actually got a manager that I can like. This is the kind of level that I want. So straightening back in the World Cup and then getting on the Xavi train, you know, the pre-seasons, getting next season. You know, we didn't have a season this season. I don't even remember we played football. You know, I'm going straight into next season with positive eyes. And it starts with the transfer window. So I'm looking to cover it all. Once again, mate, thanks for having me. And Mason, great to be with you again, mate.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure to have you on, Kai. And Mason, tell them about Blues and Stripes.
So yeah, over the summer, I probably will not be uploading every single day, but I'll try to get any news stories that are coming out. I do have 2 other channels where I talk TV shows that I watch and I play video games as well. So kind of more so focus on doing sort of weekly stuff there. But I will be talking about the U.S. for the World Cup. I know we don't have much of a chance, but hey, we got Pochettino. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do this season. But I also do talk about Atlanta United sometimes whenever there's something to talk about because we've been so just boring as most of the MLS is. But I'll talk about that occasionally. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to get back into Chelsea once we see some of these signings coming in and see what Xabi Alonso is going to do with this team, because that it's given me some hope. You know, I know a lot of people have been talking about this is the worst season under Blueco. For me personally, I thought the first season was worse because I didn't see any hope. I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. The players didn't seem that good. I didn't know who was going to come in. This year, you know, I still see the talent we have, even though they've had a rough season, and Xabi Alonso coming in. I think that's given me a lot more hope that we can go actually do something next season. So I'm definitely excited to get back to it. And thanks again for having me on. I always enjoy talking to you guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's always a good time. So, guys, Kai from Behind the Dugouts and Mason from Blues and Stripes, their channels will be linked in the description, but also I've done a collab, so you can just click on the little profile picture icon and subscribe to their channels if you haven't already. And I'm pretty sure Mason's other channels are linked on your Chelsea channel, aren't they? So if you want to see Mason talk about video games and TV shows, then go and check that out as well. So, guys, the only thing I haven't really properly done yet is if you have enjoyed today's content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honor of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me or us in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Nice one, guys. Thank you all very much for sticking around until the end. If you did, thank you again, Kai and Mason. We will catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.